Two people, same age, same job, same salary. One of them, by age 55, is sitting on $2.3 million. The other one, $194,000, same starting point, same income, same amount invested every single month. The only difference? One picked index funds, one picked his own stocks. Now, before you assume you already know which one won, I need you to stay with me, because the answer is not what finance Twitter tells you. The answer is not what your coworker who brags about Tesla told you. And the answer is definitely not simple. Because here's what nobody in this debate wants to admit. Both of them can make you rich. And both of them can completely destroy you. The difference is something much deeper than which one you pick. It's about who you are, what you know, and what you're actually willing to do. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which one belongs in your life. With real numbers, real examples, real history. Let's get into it. Section 1. Set the stage. The Great Debate. Okay, so this debate has been going on for decades. On one side, you've got the Warren Buffett camp, and yes, I said Warren Buffett, the greatest stock picker in human history, is actually on the index fund side of this debate. He literally wrote it into his will. When he dies, 90% of the money he leaves for his wife goes into one index fund. The S&P 500, the man who made billions picking stocks, told his own family, "Don't try to do what I did. Let that sit for a second." On the other side, you've got stories like this. A guy named David Gardner bought Amazon stock in 1997 at around $3 per share. Today, that same share is worth over $180. That's a 6,000% return if he put $10,000 into Amazon in 1997. That $10,000 is now worth over $600,000 from one stock. So which side is right? The guy who played it safe and still became the richest investor alive? Or the guy who bet on Amazon and turned 10K into 600K? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to break this down completely. No bias, no agenda, round by round. Head-to-head, returns, risk, time, psychology, tax, real stories. And at the end, I'm going to tell you the truth that almost every finance channel is too afraid to say. Stay with me. Section 2. What actually are these things? 230, Forber real quick, because I want everyone on the same page. What is an index fund? An index fund is a basket. Imagine buying a tiny piece of every major company in America, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Johnson & Johnson, all at once, in one purchase. That basket is called an index fund. The most famous one tracks the S&P 500, the 500 largest companies in the United States. When those companies grow, your money grows. When they fall, your money falls. You don't pick. You don't trade. You just own America's economy. Simple, passive, boring, brutally effective. What is individual stock picking? This is where you look at companies one by one, analyze their financials, their leadership, their growth potential, and you choose to buy shares in the ones you believe will outperform. You're making a direct bet on a company, and if you're right, you can absolutely destroy index fund returns. But if you're wrong, we'll get to that. Now, round one. Round one, the returns let. Talk pure money. The S&P 500, over the last 30 years, has returned an average of 10.7% per year. That means if you invested $10,000 in 1994 and just left it alone, you would have $207,000 today. You did nothing. Zero trades, zero stress, zero analysis. $207,000. Now, individual stocks. The top performers over the same period: Apple, up over 100,000%. Amazon, up over 100,000%. Netflix, up over 40,000% from its IPO. Nvidia, the poster child of the last 5 years and up over 30,000% in 10 years. If you had put $10,000 into Nvidia in 2015, you'd have over $3 million today. So individual stocks win on returns, right? Not so fast. Here's the stat that Wall Street hopes you never Google. Over any given 15-year period, More than 92% of actively managed funds, run by professional investors with billion-dollar research teams, Bloomberg terminals, and Wall Street educations, fail to beat the S&P 500 index, 2%. These are not amateurs. These are not emotional retail traders. These are the best in the business, and they still lose to a boring index fund, 9 times out of 10. So what makes you think the average person scrolling Reddit, watching YouTube, trading on Robinhood, is going to beat what the pros can't? Now, some people do beat the market, consistently, but here's the brutal math. For every NVIDIA story, there are 500 stories you never hear. The person who put $10,000 into Blockbuster in 2002, 0. The person who loaded up on Enron, 0. The person who bet everything on Peloton at $150, down. 95%, the winners get interviews on CNBC. The losers get very quiet. Round 1 winner. Index funds on a risk-adjusted basis. Round 2. The psychology problem now. This is the round that nobody talks about, and it might be the most important one. Let me tell you about a study. 1. Of the most famous in behavioral finance history, Fidelity Investments, one of the largest brokerages in America, did an internal study to find which accounts had the best long-term performance. They wanted to know which type of investor, what strategy, what demographic performed the best. You know what they found? The best performing accounts were accounts belonging to people who had forgotten they had the account or people who were dead. That's not a joke. That is a real finding. The investors who did the best because they did nothing. They weren't watching CNBC at 6 a.m. They weren't panic selling in March 2020 when COVID hit. They weren't euphoric buying when crypto was at $60,000. They just held, completely unconsciously. Because here's the brutal truth about human psychology. We are wired to lose money in the stock market. When prices drop, fear kicks in. We sell at the worst possible time. When prices rise, greed kicks in. We buy at the worst possible time. It's called buying high and selling low, and almost every retail investor does it. Repeatedly. A study by Dalbar, which has tracked investor behavior for decades, found that while the S&P 500 averaged around 10% per year over 30 years, the average individual investor earned only 3.7% per year, the same market, a fraction of the return. Why? Because they couldn't stay still. Index fund investors, statistically, stay still more often because there's nothing to do, no decisions to make, no individual company drama to react to. Individual stock investors, every earnings call is a crisis. Every tweet from the CEO is a signal. Every red day is a test of your conviction, and most people fail that test over and over again. Round 2 winner. Index funds by a landslide. Okay, so far, it sounds like index funds are the obvious winner. But I promised you this wasn't simple, and I meant it, because in round 3, I am going to show you exactly when individual stocks not only make sense, but when they are the only logical choice. And I'm going to give you the framework that the top 1% of investors actually use. Don't go anywhere. Round 3. When individual stocks actually win, let me introduce you to a concept called asymmetric upside. Index funds are incredible, but they come with a ceiling. When you own the S&P 500, you own all 500 companies. That means Apple going up 200% this year. It barely moves your overall return because it's diluted across 499 other companies. The index's strength, diversification, is also its limitation. It can never 10x your money in 3 years. Individual stocks can, and for certain people in certain situations, that matters enormously. Who should consider individual stocks? Person 1, the true expert. If you work in an industry, if you genuinely understand it at a deep level, you have a legitimate information. Edge a nurse who understood hospital supply. chains in early 2020 and saw the demand for medical equipment, could have bought Align Technology, Haemonetics, or Becton Dickinson before the broader market caught up a software engineer at Microsoft who genuinely understands where AI is heading, sees opportunities that retail investors scrolling Reddit simply cannot see. Your expertise is a moat if you use it correctly. Person 2, the long-term conviction investor, not a trader. Not someone checking prices daily, someone who looks at a company, truly understands its business model, believes in its 10-year trajectory, and holds. This is how Peter Lynch ran Magellan Fund and averaged 29% per year for 13 years. He wasn't trading. He was investing in companies he understood. He bought Dunkin' Donuts because he loved the coffee. He bought Hanes because his wife liked their products. He says it himself. Invest in what you know. Person 3, the satellite investor. This is the strategy that the smartest retail investors actually use. And this is the framework I promised you. Here's how it works. 80% of your portfolio, index funds. Your core, your foundation. Boring and beautiful. 20% of your portfolio, individual stocks. Your satellite, your upside, your conviction plays, the 80 protects you. The 20 gives you a real shot at outperformance. You get both worlds, the stability of the market and the possibility of an outsized win. This isn't a compromise. This is the sophisticated investor's playbook. Studies show that even adding just 5 to 10 carefully chosen individual stocks to an otherwise index-heavy portfolio can meaningfully improve long-term returns without meaningfully increasing. Risk round 3, winner, individual stocks. But only for the right person with the right framework. Section 3, the real numbers. Comparison. Let's run the actual numbers side by side. Scenario, $500 per month invested from age 25 to age 60. 35 years index. Fund path, 10% average annual return. Total invested, $210,000. Final portfolio value, $1,913,000, nearly $2 million. From $500 a month, skilled individual stock path, 14% average annual return. Total invested, $210,000. Final portfolio value, $472,000. Over $4 million, that difference. 4% in annual return, compounded over 35 years, is the difference between comfortable and generational wealth. But here's what that 14% requires. Consistent research, disciplined buying and selling, emotional control during crashes, understanding financial statements, tracking quarterly earnings, managing concentration risk. That is essentially a second job. Now, the downside scenario for individual stocks. Investor makes emotional decisions. Overconcentrates in 3 or 4 stocks. Panic sells in 2008. Chases meme stocks in 2021. Buys high. Sells low. Average return, 4% per year. Total portfolio at $493,000, less than a quarter of what the index fund investor made. Same person. Same money. Different behavior. This is why the question is never just, which investment is better? The question is always, which investor are you? Section 4, the verdict. The truth. Nobody says all right. Here's the truth. The finance world has turned this into a war. Index fund people call stock pickers arrogant gamblers. Stock pickers call index fund investors lazy and unambitious. Both sides are wrong, and both sides are missing the point because the real question is never, which vehicle is better? The real question is, where are you trying to go? If you want to build reliable, life-changing, stress-free wealth over decades, index funds are one of the greatest financial inventions in human history. Full stop. John Bogle invented the index fund in 1976, and his invention has quietly made more ordinary Americans wealthy than any hedge fund, any stock picker, any financial advisor combined. But if you have genuine edge, deep knowledge, emotional discipline, and a long time horizon, individual stocks can absolutely build wealth that index funds cannot match. The answer for most people? Both. Together, intentionally. Core in index funds. Satellite in companies you truly understand. Automatic monthly investment so you remove your own worst enemy, yourself, from the equation. That's not a compromise. That's the actual strategy of some of the wealthiest self-made investors in America. Conclusion. Remember those two people I told you about at the very beginning? The one who ended up with $2.3 million and the one who ended up with $194,000. Here's what I didn't tell you. They both started with index funds. The one who ended up with $194,000 switched to individual stocks halfway through without the knowledge, without the discipline, without the framework. He chased returns. He panic sold. He overconcentrated. The one who ended up with $2.3 million stayed boring, stayed consistent, added a small satellite stock position in companies he genuinely understood from his work in tech, and never, not once, looked at his portfolio. During a market crash, two people, one decision, 2.1 million difference. The stock market is not complicated, but it will expose every emotional weakness you have. So before you pick a strategy, pick the version of yourself that can actually stick to it. That's where real wealth is built. If this video helped you, share it with someone you know who is still confused about where to put their money. You might literally change their financial future. Subscribe to Liberty Finance. Every week, we break down real money decisions for real people building real wealth in America. And in the next video, I'm going to break down exactly which S&P 500 index fund is actually best, because they are not all the same. And the difference between the wrong one and the right one could cost you tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. That video is coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. I'll see you there.